Hey guys, this is Dan from Pacific Tech Center, and I just wanted to cover how to set up your Raspberry Pi 4 that you just got. This is not an unboxing video. If you want one of those, let me know, and we can take this apart and start over. But basically, the important parts that you have is you have your SD card that hopefully you purchased with the Raspberry Pi. Your Raspberry Pi with whatever case it is that you have, and then the cables that allow you to connect. So you have your HDMI, you have two HDMI connectors. You have the USB-C connector, which is used for power in my case. And you see we have 4 USB connectors and 1 RJ45 for your network. So everything's pretty good here. And also I got a case with the fan, and that can come in really handy as the Raspberry Pis can get pretty warm. So I'll go ahead and put this together. And I also have this nice little USB to SD mini SD converter. And this is how I'm going to set it up. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the software you need to download and install on your workstation. And then I will also show you the version of the OS that you need to do for Raspberry Pi 4, because it doesn't work with your Raspberry Pi 3 software anymore. So you're going to have to download specifically the version that will work on this. And then I'll kind of briefly show you how to update the software. And that's the extent of this particular video. It is the first video, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so one of the first things that you need to do before you can start playing with your new device is to download the software that will allow you to burn in the OS. So here you can see we're in the Raspberry Pi website, raspberrypi.org, under products and Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, which is the one we're looking at right now. You want to go down to software, and then download for whatever OS. So if you're using Windows or if you're using Mac, whatever, you want to download it here. And then once you download it, go ahead and install it. But it doesn't stop there. Once you have this installed, you're also going to need to download another version of the Raspberry Pi 4. And that will be accessible under operating systems. So if you go down here, and click on see all download options. And then from here you would select which version of Raspberry Pi. And if you have Raspberry Pi 4 with 32 gigs storage on the SD card, you should be okay with selecting this. So I would do the desktop with recommended software. Go ahead and download that, and once it's done downloading, then you would want to take the SD card that you have for the Raspberry Pi and go ahead and plug it into your computer. So you can turn around and burn into it. Make sure I'm plugging into the right device here. And yes, I was. Okay. So now that you have it plugged in, go ahead and run the software. I'm going to go ahead and burn in this version. This is the latest version. I have not had a chance to try it, but we will in a few minutes. For now, we're just going to download it and install it onto the SD card. So we'll go ahead and run the handy dandy Raspberry Pi imager now that's installed. if I can find it here. Raspberry Pi. You're going to have to run it as administrator, of course. Here, when you choose the OS, you're actually going to do custom. And the reason is because the selections that drop down right now are really only for Raspberry Pi 3. Hopefully they have that figured out soon. So you can see today's date. Well, the latest version of the OS is May 7th. So I go ahead and open that. And then I'm going to choose the 128. Make sure I have the right SD card. And I always make a point to plug in the right device. These things are so small, it's hard to tell, right? Let's try that again. Okay, 32 gigs, which is what I expected the first time. 32 gigs. I'm going to go ahead and overwrite whatever I have. And look how simple this is. The moment this is done, we can move on to the next stage. But for now, I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Okay, looks like it's completed. It wrote to the SD card and then it also verified it. And it took a long time. That could be at least, I don't know, 40 minutes. Anyway, we can go ahead and take that card and put it into the Raspberry Pi. And let's see if it boots up. Okay. Just turned it on. If we see we don't see any display, it didn't work. So, so far, it's starting to look like it's booting up. There we go. All right. Let me switch to this keyboard and mouse. Oh, there we go. I guess I just had to turn it off and back on for it to work. Now, okay, get to the right keyboard and monitor here. Okay. Well, I know I'm not in the United Kingdom, so let me correct that. And time zone is way off. And we'll go ahead and use English and US keyboard. We'll do a few of the basic setup requirements, and then we'll end the video. need to set up a password, and hopefully it's not something that's easily guessed. Okay, so this one part, I highly recommend testing whether you checkbox it or not, because it can interfere with the way it displays. Last time I checkboxed this and my display was way off, I will not checkbox that and see what happens. Now I'm using Wi-Fi, I'm not using wired. So I'll just clock into Wi-Fi. And hopefully I remember the password correctly. That looks correct. Okay, so the next step is that it's going to update the software, but actually I'm going to skip that because I'm going to show you how to do it on the command line. Might as well. So the first step I'm going to do is make sure that everything has been updated. And if it has been updated, then this will go really quick. I mean, after all, it's only been less than a month since this image has been published. So hopefully there's not too many things that have to be updated. Okay, nothing needs to be updated, but it does have to be upgraded. So it's basically the same command, except for you do upgrade instead. And this might take a while. Or it might be really quick. We'll find out in a minute. Well, there you are. So the most important thing when you set up your Raspberry Pi is that you update and upgrade the OS. You want to do that first because there's going to be some things that don't work correctly if you're not running the latest version. And everything's tested on the latest version. So you want it working, run the latest version. This is obviously going to take a while. So I'm going to go ahead and let this finish. And you see it's at 4% right now. And we'll come back when it's done. Well, actually, that ended up being a lot quicker than I expected. So anyway, as you see, it updated all these packages and upgraded them. And then first thing we want to do is make sure that everything is correct. So I always make a point to reboot after I update everything. See, I mean, there's different ways you can use reboot now. In Net6, you can go to the GUI and I believe shut down right here, but you know, I'm an old Unix guy. I'm going to do the old-fashioned way. And let's make sure this thing comes back up and the graphics look the way we want them to. So far it looks good. Perfect. Okay, so my graphics problem was from a previous setup I did was because I checkboxed the black line around the screen. Apparently, if it messes up your screen, don't checkbox that. Anyway, This was a successful setup. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what the predefined packages were. You have all the programming tools except for Anjuta, which is one of my favorite old Microsoft Visual Studio type IDEs. One of the original ones we used to do. It was just like it. Yeah, I mean, it's ready to go at this point. The only thing that I would like, well, no, it's here too. I would have put Firefox in here as well. I'm not sure why they didn't. But outside of that, this is fairly decent build. They could have added more things like MATLAB and stuff like that, but that's not very difficult to add. So I wouldn't really complain about that too much. Anyway, it looks like it's working perfectly. So aloha and mahalo for watching.